Like many people, I have been contemplating what Nelson Mandela means to me. As we stand, we've seen his memorial service, his state memorial service, and now in solidarity with the people of South Africa, in solidarity with our own lives, many of us are, in a sense, mourning with them. So this 3-day period, I'd like to offer some reflections on what Nelson Mandela has come to mean to me, and together we can sort of discuss what that will mean to us in the future. I first became aware of Nelson Mandela probably before college, but what I remember was being a freshman in college, so it was 1994, when he was sworn in. And I remember there was a speak out on the steps, one of the squares in our school. I went to Oberlin, and I was standing next to a South African student who was a few years ahead of me, a year or two ahead of me. And I just remember just looking at him, and, it was in the fall, so we, freshmen, but a few months in, and I just remember thinking, wow, I'm so ignorant of what is going on here. I have no clue. Maybe this is my sophomore year, but I just remember thinking, wow, I'm incredibly ignorant of the ways that apartheid sustained itself. And I knew how ignorant I was of, wow, there's this entire other system that's like Jim Crow here in America, and yet I know nothing about it, and it's going on right now. And if we got rid of Jim Crow, why do they still have apartheid and all these things? Then of course, here I am, a black kid, hip hop culture. I wonder what kind of music they have, and what is their cult? What is it like to be in South Africa? And so I was a bit slow to the trip, but one of the professors at my university, at my college, took a group of students in the Black Studies course to South Africa, changed their lives from what many of them told me, my classmates, dear women, many of them, I know through art, STEM studies and science, and also through the Black Greek letter organizations. So I was in a good place to learn about, and very quickly and swiftly learn about what was going on there, to have my world view really shifted, all because of this man. So here I was learning, opening, my sense of wanting to get out of Kentucky and to just see more parts of the world. So here I was 7 hours away, who's driving, in the middle of the cornfields of Ohio, learning all of this stuff. And at the heart of it was this living, breathing person. It wasn't any of the martyrs that we had. Even in the middle of our school, another one of the squares, Tappan Square, there's a memorial arch to missionaries who had gone from the area to during the Boxer Revolution in China. And so this martyrdom culture was all around us, and of course Martin Luther King, and of course we even had our own generations of black and white and Asian and Latin activists from in and around dealing with Oberlin College. So the idea that I could learn about this richness of how one can synthesize something from knowing all of this was also very much a part of the Oberlin experience. So I stressed that I was in a really good place to learn this and really search for myself to embrace and to want to know about a person like Nelson Mandela, but then also that being a window to, well, what else is in the world? What's out there? What do I don't know that I don't know? So very symbolically, he represented, that come in, because he had an extended hand to everyone. Genuinely to everyone, and of course as his life unfolded as president and then as an elder, and seeing the ways that Desmond Tutu and Jimmy Carter, and this the ways that he would support Aung San Suu Kyi in Burma, the ways that he would get groups of elders and to see which is a very Africanist way of knowledge transfer to the world, specifically saying, here we are the elders, what do we have to offer that's not just within our silo of, tied to a nation state, tied to a religion, tied to being a statesman, tied to being an activist, but embracing all of that. And so, yet again, this man was he was the example, in a very Gandhian way. Be the change you wish to see in the world. Well, he was that, because in embracing nonviolence, and I've always believed that nonviolence is radical, is revolutionary, is capable of winning wars, of settling scores, and that you can't start with violence and expect to reach peace. You will reach states of stalemate, of intimidation, of and if we only look for any further than our current conflicts in Iraq, Afghanistan, contentious relationships with trade, all over the globe, immigration, the various ways that, yet again, Nelson Mandela, his life and the celebration of his life, and not just marking his death, but celebrating his life, marked that coming together of people, that open hand, that open door. Because, when you see in Obama, and many people have made a big deal of this, Obama shaking the hand of the Cuban leader, because it's at that funeral, and it's to honor that man's life, that they have to, unfreeze the freeze. And I would love to see a speech from Mr. Obama where he says, you know what, I reflected deeply on the life of Mandela and the actual physical experience of having to come together, and us all, these different world leaders, being able to say, this is something that we have in common, is that we honor this person. This is our type of hero. This is our kind of icon of what it means to be free and proud and human and alive today. That's the essence of life, and he represents that for all of us. So if that's our starting point, if we know that we have that in common, then everything, there is no space for any kind of Cold War or hot war, any kind of ugliness between America and Cuba, dare I say Israel and Palestine. There is no room for that if people can come together, So then I would ask, did the Israeli leader and Palestinian leaders also greet each other at Nelson Mandela's funeral? Did the Indian leaders and the Pakistani leaders and and so on and so on, did their leaders also shake each other's hands or greet? However, China and Japan, disputing islands, did they also meet there at Nelson Mandela's funeral? I hope all these people did. But at the end of the day, did you and I meet there? Do we have this in common? Do we share this? Do we share the message of freedom and the long struggle to nonviolence, from violence? Because remember, Nelson Mandela was labeled a terrorist many years ago, and his walk to freedom included a very long trail, as he traces himself, to nonviolence, to peace and nonviolence, to cultivating that through reconciliation, truth and reconciliation, to not just shaking F.W. de Klerk's hand, but demanding and demonstrating that the South African people walk with one another. He did that with Winnie. They went their separate ways, but we saw his wives embracing one another at his funeral, again coming together. All the lives that many people think would be so cold and distant can find a way towards truth and reconciliation with one another, to cooperate with one another. And his example is forgiveness. It's important. Listening, dialogue, using dialogue as the first and last resort, as the ultimate resort. But deep listening, again, I can't stress that enough, because without deep listening, there is no hope for actual empathy, which, of course, sits at the heart of Ubuntu. And so I would close this by saying that Nelson Mandela led me to understand greater and value the principle of Ubuntu. Dialogue through empathy, and empathy as a form of dialogue. Gotta love it. Mandela.
Mhm.